All right, guys, happy Thursday. Coming to you live on a Thursday, AL.com recruiting brought to you by Southern Orthopedic Surgeons. I'm Simone Eli alongside Ben Thomas. We've got a stacked show today, a lot of recruiting updates, but this show was specifically moved from yesterday to today for one single guy. His name is Bennett Meredith. He's the Hoover quarterback, a super talented, great student athlete. Ben, this is a guy who we've talked about many times on this show leading up to this week. It's been a huge week for him coming off of that win over Thompson for Hoover last week. Just a lot of excitement. He's going to join the show in just a moment. But, Ben, what a game that was in that 7A, just huge blockbuster matchup last Friday.
Yeah, it's been a great year for him, Simone. I mean, he started off, in those two Georgia games, one of them over in Atlanta with really big games, and it's just been consistent all the way through. I did a story on AL.com last week about the quarterback matchup in the Hoover-Thompson game between he and Connor Harrell, and it was all it's lived up to be. It been, Connor did not play in the second half, but Bennett really shined in that game, and he has all year. And, of course, like you said, it's been a huge week for him.
Yeah, it certainly has, and we can talk till we're blue in the face about the game, but let's bring in the guy who was actually down on the gridiron doing all the things. Bennett Meredith, the Hoover quarterback, joins us live right now. Bennett, just talk us through your emotions looking back at last Friday. I know that you kind of have to move forward now, but, I mean, you still have to be riding a little bit of a high after that huge upset win over Thompson.
Yes, ma'am. It was pretty cool. It was awesome. The atmosphere was unreal. The game was awesome. Obviously, the last drive it's probably the best moment in my sports career so far. The game was great, but we're just really focused back and getting focused for the playoffs, and we're ready for week one.
Bennett, talk us through that atmosphere. I mean, I was down here in Daphne, and so I went, but it looked like was that the craziest high school atmosphere you've been a part of? Or?
For sure. I think they said there was a little bit over 8,000 people, maybe. Yeah, it was like we came out and it was our senior night too. So everyone was lined in the field of our tunnel. They had our music playing, the smoke going. It was awesome coming out of the tunnel. And by halftime, I don't think anyone could find a seat. It was kind of like a late arrival for a lot of people. But when we came out for halftime, it was packed. It was an awesome crowd, awesome experience, and obviously an awesome win.
Bennett, our producer, Patrick Greenfield, was at the game and has some really great highlights from that game. I want to look at this last drive. Talk me through, if you can, just a couple of these plays. What was going through your mind here?
Well, we just had to keep it alive. Receivers made some outstanding plays. Offensive line did a great job blocking, giving me time to throw the football. But we just stepped up and made big-time plays on that drive. We had a lot of younger kids step up. It was just unreal. I think 81 yards in like under 2 minutes. It was just crazy.
And to do it against a Thompson defense that is stacked. I mean, they have some of the best guys in the state, some of the best in the country. I mean, looking back, it's just to watch these right now. It's almost surreal to be talking to you and to be watching this unfold. I mean, like how rewarding was it to do it against guys who are that talented?
I mean, obviously it was awesome. It was really rewarding, but we came into the week with the game plan. We were just going to do our thing. We didn't change anything because of a couple players. We didn't change anything because of that particular defense. We just came in and executed what we do best, and the outcome was in our favor.
Bennett, we just saw there the highlights, as you probably see, of the game-winning touchdown pass with 14 seconds left. Talk us through that play. What was going through your mind, and is that what you were looking for, or how did it develop?
Oh, actually, that was not what I was looking for at all. The snap was a little bit high. Our starting center, the play before, his helmet came off, so we had a sophomore come in there, and everyone was talking. We were like, "Just get the snap back there, and he got it back there." I started to look left, but everything just got kind of jumbled up, so I just escaped the pocket, and Jabari made a great break, broke off his route to the corner, and he made a great catch.
So was he their number one receiver on that play, or was it RJ, or was it designed for anyone specifically?
It was designed to go the opposite way, actually, but like I said, everything just kind of I think we got jammed off the line of scrimmage, so I just had to work through the progressions and scramble a little bit and make it happen. That's what we did.
Did you tease your sophomore center a little bit? Like, hey, man, can you get it a little bit lower next time?
A little bit. We talked about that a little bit. this week. Actually, it was funny though. Yeah, I can't imagine stepping into that game at that moment. He did a good job just getting the snap back there.
Bennett, it's been a really, really big week for you, not only with that game, but most recently yesterday, you made your commitment. You decided that you were going to take your talents to Northwestern and head to the Big Ten. Tell us a little bit about what went into that decision and the timing of that decision.
Well, I've been in communication with them since May almost. They've been nothing but completely honest with me throughout the whole process. They said they do things a little bit differently than everyone else. They really like to find the right guy. They really focus just on building a relationship with me, just as a person and not just as a player. And I really respect them for that. Coach Jake is the OC there. He would call me twice a week, just checking up on me, how practice was going, who we have this week, and just an overview of like what we're doing offensively. And that was really awesome. And that connection just kind of sealed the deal almost.
So they offered you just this week though. Did they, look at that game film like, yeah, we probably had to maybe off this guy now or what?
I'm not really sure about that, but I'm glad they pulled the trigger when they did. Not really sure. I think that game might have helped it, obviously, but this has been a really long process, and that might have sealed the deal. But don't quote me on that.
Have you been up there?
I have been up there, yes, sir. I took a visit over the summer. I went and threw for them. I went and visited and threw for them over the summer, and then I was back there about 3 weeks ago for their homecoming game against Rutgers, and it was just awesome. Like, I knew from the moment I stepped on campus, like, that's where I wanted to be and that's where I wanted to play.
It's really interesting that we've kind of developed an Alabama pipeline to Northwestern, which is unusual. We have a guy down here in my neck of the woods, Braden Turner from McGill-Tulane, who's committed there. But you have another guy in your region who happens to play quarterback. He's probably not going to be a quarterback in college, but Evan Smith from Oak Mountain, he's committed to Northwestern. You guys talk about that at all?
Oh, yes, sir. He was probably more fired up than anyone. He hit me up right after I posted it. He was like, just asked me a bunch of questions. We're going to try to room up there. But yeah, we work out together, we throw together, we do everything together. So that's, we're really close, and that's going to be a great bond to have going up there.
That's what I was about to ask you. You pretty much answered my next question, was to be going to Northwestern. Obviously, it's not like right around the corner, but to have guys from your neck of the woods who, you know, you can maybe travel with. I played college sports, so I knew it was like to have people that you kind of knew growing up a little bit. How rewarding is that to be able to have those connections now that you are going to the next level?
Oh, it's awesome. And actually, when I was up there 2 weeks ago for the Rutgers game, that was the game that all the commits were at. So I kind of have already developed a little bit of a relationship with those guys, talked to some of the guys that have been committed for a year or so. And I mean, that also really helped the decision, just the words I got from them about like Coach Fitz and just the program in general, that swayed me a little bit for sure. But having those connections already, it made my decision a lot easier, obviously, because it's not a close place, but knowing I'm going to have a good group of guys around me, that's awesome.
I know you have a ton of support around you and your family and your parents. I mean, how fired up are they to see you make this decision and to to be wearing purple and to be able to travel up and see you?
They were so excited and obviously proud of me. This has been a really long journey, and finally just something rewarding is coming from it. They were super stoked about it.
Ben, it might be cold up there. I don't know if you know they're not.
Freezing.
You gonna be all right with that?
I think I'll handle it. It'll take some getting used to, but I think I can handle it.
Well, before we let you go, talk about what we got coming up. You guys are not playing this week. Then we got the playoffs. So, you got Thompson possibly down the road. I mean, what's your mindset going back in with Hoover now, the number one team and maybe the favorite to win the 7A title?
I mean, Coach Nibblett's been talking about that a lot. We're just focused on these 2 weeks in front of us, winning this first game and getting to the next one, because you're not promised a one after that. So we're really just locked in on Sparkman and just what they do, and we're getting a game plan together for them, and we'll just go week by week.
It's challenging to have to go through your senior season and also have this big decision looming. So to have that behind you now, you just feel like you can just focus on what the next few weeks look like for you in your senior year.
Oh, 100%. Obviously I can sit here and say that wasn't on my mind, but it's always been in the back of my head. Like, what if no school comes through with like a scholarship offer? But not just having that, it's just like a sense of relief. And now I can just go out and do what I love to do, with no question or thought about it. So that's really nice.
Benny, your year has been pretty consistent. I mean, you came out with that big game in Georgia over in the Dome, and I think you've been consistent each year, every game. Obviously, you transferred in from Spain Park. What has Coach Niblett taught you? What have you learned most from him?
He's unreal. All credit to him. The game plan he puts together every week, he really makes it easy for us. We just go out there and do what we did at practice all week. Him and Coach Nib, they're the best like you can get at the high school level. And not even just from a coach, like from a person aspect, they're just great people. He's helped me a lot off the field, spiritually, and obviously on the field too. But we're running a college system, basically. It's full field progressions. Everything I'm going to do, I'll be doing at the next level. So it's really just seeing the whole picture. That's kind of been the biggest part he's helped me with, not just focusing on the little things, but seeing everything out on the field, not just one side of the field. And he's unreal. He's awesome.
Very good stuff. Hoover quarterback Bennett Meredith, thank you so much for joining the show. Congratulations on the huge region win, the upset win over Thompson. Congratulations on your commitment to Northwestern, man. We are really, really looking forward to seeing what the next few weeks look like for you and cheering for you as always.
Thank you guys so much.
Hey, appreciate you, Bennett. Congratulations,
yes,
man.
Thank you.
All right, guys, that's Bennett Meredith, the Hoover quarterback, joining the show live here on AL.com Recruiting. If you're just tuning in, brought to you by Southern Orthopedic Surgeons. He's Ben Thomas. I'm Simone Eli. Patrick Greenfield behind the scenes, running the board, all the highlights and the graphics. Now, Bennett Meredith obviously pulled off a huge upset win over Thompson. On the other side of that, Ben, is a really, really talented quarterback over there at Thompson as well, and a situation that we're kind of keeping an eye on when it comes to injuries, Ben.
Yeah, I wanted to throw – I don't know if Patrick may have thrown it up and I just missed it before we moved on to that. Bennett, people may be wondering what Bennett's stats were in that game. 22 of 37, 279 yards and 3 touchdowns. There you go. And obviously the winning touchdown there with 14 seconds left against Thompson. But, yeah, we mentioned earlier, Simone, that Connor Harrell, one of the leading contenders for Mr. Football, was injured. We think he was injured. We have really not a whole lot of information, but he left the game after throwing a touchdown pass in the first half, did not come back out in the second half and did not play in the second half of that game. Thompson had a 21-10 lead at the time. I've messaged Coach Freeman a couple of times, and he's gotten back to me, but hasn't said a lot about what that injury is. Obviously, he's committed to North Carolina, one of the top quarterbacks in our state. And what, we just have to wait and see. They're like Hoover, Thompson's off this week as well. So they have 2 weeks to prepare for their first playoff game next week. So we'll see what happens there. Mark Freeman has had this problem before. Tyler Johnston, the UAB quarterback, tore his ACL when those two were at Spanish Ford in week 5. And Coach Freeman had 2 weeks there. He moved to wide receiver to quarterback, and they made it to the state semifinal. So the good news is if he can't play, Coach Freeman's got some time to come up with something else. And also, if he can heal whatever the injury is, maybe he can get back in time. But certainly it changes the outlook of the 7A playoff landscape if Connor is not behind center for Thompson.
Yeah, it definitely does. And, you went all the way back to a quarterback that he had at Spanish 4, but you can go as back as last year. Connor was injured in that state title game. They had to move a receiver to quarterback. And then, of course, we remember the miraculous comeback that Thompson had over Auburn in the 7A state title game. So if anyone can figure it out, it's Mark Freeman. We'll see what the next few weeks look like when it comes to Connor Harrell. But, of course, we're wishing him the best. A great young man and a great student athlete as well. Talent all over the field for Thompson. Before we move on from that game, I want to talk quickly about Tre'Quon Fegans. Kind of what he did last week. Not only did he commit to Alabama after flipping from Miami, but he also had a very impressive game against Hoover despite the loss for the Warriors, Ben.
Yeah, he had 2 tackles, 1 assist, a tackle for a loss, and an interception there. And we talked last week. I mean, it was not a huge surprise that he decommitted from Miami. I mean, I think the reason he committed to Miami was maybe Alabama didn't exactly know what they had at the time and wasn't pushing him hard. I think they realized, hey, we need this guy, and they put the pressure on. And I think Patrick was at the game, as you saw from the highlights. I think he maybe even had some sound on Tre'Quon.
Yeah, he does regarding his commitment. And Patrick, let's go ahead and listen in on that.
Environment, the program, the coaches there, they love the players, not just for football, but on and off the field. So that was kind of, they develop good players. Every year you'll see a player get drafted more than a player. But DBs, they'll have Coach Saban to develop a DB. I want to be better than I am now. I'm trying to work on my craft, work on my technique. I know everything that I'm doing now is not great, so when I get there, I want to work on all that.
So that's Tre'Quon Fegans, the Alabama commit. Obviously, a lot of guys choose the Tide because they know what it looks like down the road, not only in the next 3 or 4 years, but also, Ben, what things look like at the next level.
Yeah, the Hoover band's still cranking it up there after that victory.
Hey, I bet they were.
Yeah, I mean, look, Alabama now has commitments not only from Tre'Quon, but also from Jeremiah Alexander, the #1 prospect in the state. There you see Tre'Quon's info for us, certainly an A-list member as well. And there's a lot of talk that Thompson's top 2 juniors, Peter Woods and Tony Mitchell, also may end up at Alabama. So, I mean, that's 4 guys on that Thompson defense that may be playing for the Crimson Tide next year or the next year. We'll have to wait on those other 2, but certainly loaded. And that makes, Simone, as you mentioned, that makes what Bennett and Hoover did against them even more impressive.
Oh, yeah.
To drive 81 yards in 2 minutes against that defense, for Bennett to have the protection he had against Jeremiah Alexander and Peter Woods and those guys, all credit to them. I mean, like we said, Connor was out of the game, but you just got to credit Hoover for doing what they need to do and Bennett for having another great game. And boy, did he not sound like a great kid, great interview there, Simone?
We've really gotten lucky on this show the last couple of weeks with guys that we've had on live. Of course, we appreciate having recruits on live and just how fantastic they are interview-wise. Bennett, definitely one of those, just a stand-up guy. You can see why Northwestern was hot on him and wanting to get him, because not only a great academic kid, but great on the field as well. So moving forward and talking about Bama commits, we're going to look at some spotlight performances. Going to jump ahead to Emmanuel Henderson, the Bama running back commit, who has had really a fantastic year, Ben, and continued to last week.
Yeah, he ran for, as you see there, 223 yards on 12 carries, 3 touchdowns. He also returned a punt, 97 yards for a touchdown for Geneva County. So, he can. That's got to be the 5th or 6th 200-yard game he's had. And so he's been everything we thought he was going to be. Interesting matchup, by the way. I'll preview our show next week. They go to Lynette, I think, for the first round of the playoffs. So it'll be Emmanuel against Caden Story, who's another A-list member and an Auburn commit. So that'll be an intriguing matchup. And obviously, also basketball starts next week. They can play their first games. Emmanuel Henderson is a guy who is going to stay and play basketball for his school as well. We have a couple of those guys. Antonio Kite, an Alabama commit, is supposed to stay. Shemar James, I heard from Faith Academy, is going to play basketball. So a lot of those guys stay and put, which I like to see. I mean, I think it's great that they stay for their full senior year and get to have all the, everything that goes into being a senior in high school. So, but Emmanuel just continuing to be productive there for Geneva County.
No question. Another spotlight performance, an Auburn commit in Omari Kelly, the receiver out of Hewitt-Trussville, had a huge game against Oak Mountain, Ben.
Yeah, he's been good all year, been solid all year. Obviously Auburn has a need at wide receiver. I think everybody knows that if they watched Auburn play this year. But 5 receptions, 164 yards, and 3 TDs. They actually played 2 quarterbacks, Hewitt did. Peyton Floyd, Josh Floyd's son, played, and K. Caruth, coming back from an injury, played as well. And Amari just continues. He also had an 80-yard touchdown called back, Simone. So he is. They're going to need him going forward in the playoffs as we get ready to do that. But he's had a great year. Justice Finkley on the other side, the Texas commits, had a good year on the defensive line. But props to Amari. Great game there for the Auburn commit.
Can we talk briefly about Josh Floyd's kids being like total ballers right now? Like, I think he just tweeted that like he had his younger son also went undefeated like in middle school or something. I mean, this is the head coach over at Hewitt-Trussville, but I mean, this has been kind of impressive. It's kind of cool to be a head coach. Like, I'm married to a coach. I'm pregnant with a son. Maybe someday he'll be a decent athlete if he has my genes. I just think that's kind of impressive.
Isn't that strange the way that works out though? Seriously. I mean, if you think about, Josh Niblett's kids played football. Keith Etheridge's son is on the Auburn team right now. He's a senior, Camden Etheridge. And you grow up in that environment. You're on the sideline as little guys as ball boy. Phillip Rivers has talked about that, about how he he grew up being a ball boy for his dad, and now his sons are not old enough to play for St. Michael yet, and they're ball boys. So I think you're just around it, and then your dad's a coach, and you get better and better once you get into it. And you're getting coaching all the time. I mean, Simone, your dinners once your son grows up, Coach Sessions is going to be lecturing him over the table about what he should and shouldn't have done on at practice.
No question. Heck, we already do that. I feel like I get lectured. All right, guys. Other recruiting news. Really quick before we look at our one spotlight game for this week, Robert Woodyard, the Alabama linebacker commit, is out for the year, Ben. This is due to an injury from a few weeks ago. He has not played in the last couple of games, but this is a guy who is super talented, who will not be on the field for Williamson moving forward.
Yeah, unfortunately, right now we got two A-list members that are on the sidelines. Melvin Pete told us that Woodyard is out for the year with a torn meniscus, missed last week's game. Unfortunate for him. There's still, I think, a lot of questions surrounding his recruitment. He's been an Alabama commit since June of last year, but he's visited Auburn 3 times. We think Auburn's a real factor in his commitment, and unfortunately, he won't be on the sidelines. He won't be on the field again for the Lions this year.
Yeah, no question. Another one, at least down in our neck of the woods, Shemar James, the former Florida commit, and he has not made a decision on what his future looks like. He's also out, at least for right now. Ben, what's the latest that we know on Shemar James?
Yeah, I think there may be a chance for him to come back and play. He's missed the last 2 games. He said he had a mild ankle sprain that he suffered in a game against Viger a couple of weeks ago. They haven't really needed him the last couple of weeks. They start the playoffs next week. My guess is they're hoping that he's back for the playoffs. He visited Alabama over the weekend. I think most people think Alabama and Georgia are the leading contenders for him now that he's decommitted from Florida. So he and Shemar and Curtis Perry, who we had on last week, are basically the top uncommitted guys in this class. Curtis has said, I think he told us last week, he wasn't going to commit until December, right up to the early signing period. Alabama's in it with him as well. So a lot of things still to be decided with some of 2 of the top guys, the top 5 guys in the state, Shemar James and Curtis Perry.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, guys, let's look real quick at our spotlight game for this week. IMG Academy, who of course is stacked every single year with tons of talent, taking a trip to Auburn this week. It's the final week of the high school football regular season before the playoffs begin next week. So Auburn, not backing down for any competition this late in the year. Keith Etheridge, not that he picked this game, obviously, because it's year 2 of the reclass, but this is not an easy game here for Auburn in the final week of the regular season.
Yeah, I don't know how they line that game up. IMG has come and played Hoover a couple of times in recent years, but they are loaded. That's why I picked this game. We've talked about all those Auburn guys. 3 Auburn University commitments there. Powell Gordon, a linebacker, and then on the offensive line you got Eston Harris and Drew Bobo. Braden Joyner's only a junior. He's playing a lot of defensive line right now for Auburn, but probably as an offensive lineman in college, he's yet to make a decision. But look at these guys at IMG, 2 Alabama commitments already. Tyler Booker on the offensive line, Jaleel Skinner is a tight end. They're monsters down there. They also have I turned in a bunch of them, but to Patrick's defense, they've got so many recruitable kids down there, you can't list them all. But they've got a bunch of juniors that I know Alabama's interested in, and you figure if Alabama's interested in them, most everybody is. Athlete Samuel Mpemba, edge rusher Malik Bryant, athlete Joel Aguero, wide receiver Devin Hyatt, offensive lineman Kanisha Harris. Just a ton of talent there that you're going to hear a lot about during their senior year with Alabama recruiting them, maybe Auburn getting in there as well. So if you're looking for a prospect-laden game to go to this week, this is probably it.
Yeah, no question about that. A huge test for Keith Etheridge before they enter the 7A playoffs. They are the 2 seed over in that region. But Ben, before we head out, I know you had a couple of updates, recruiting updates before we say goodbye.
Yeah, we're just getting some younger guys with offers recently. The Briarwood quarterback, Christopher Vazina, who we've talked about before, he's actually scheduled to go to Auburn this week for the Ole Miss game, but he got a Notre Dame offer earlier this week. A junior quarterback from Briarwood. He's gotten a lot of offers lately. He's going to be one of the top guys in our state next year. And then Jeremiah Cobb, running back from Catholic, also a junior. He got an offer, big-time offer this week as well from Cincinnati, who obviously is getting a lot of attention this year. I almost couldn't read my writing there. I'm like, what did I write there? But he got a big-time offer from Cincinnati, so he's getting some offers coming in there as well. And obviously the Bearcats, in position to maybe be in the playoff this year. So big-time team there.
Very good stuff. Well, thanks so much, guys, for tuning in to show number 27 of AL.com Recruiting. Want to give a big shout-out to the Hoover quarterback, Bennett Meredith, for joining the show, the future Northwestern Wildcat. Yeah, they're the Wildcat.
Yeah, that's what they're.
Yeah. Okay, I just want to double check. I was going crazy there for a second. Sometimes I forget about these Big Ten schools, but super exciting for Bennett Meredith, who's been great for the Bucks. Best of luck to him moving forward in the 7A playoffs. And of course, to our producer, Patrick Greenfield, for all of the highlights that he shot from that big game in Hoover's upset win over Thompson. But guys, thank you again so much for tuning in to AL.com Recruiting. Show number 27. We'll be back on Wednesday next week with the latest as we head into week 1 of the high school football playoffs. So that'll be lots to look forward to. We will have the latest right here on Wednesday at noon. For Ben Thomas, I'm Simone Eli. This is AL.com Recruiting, brought to you by Southern Orthopedic Surgeons. Have a great rest of your Thursday and a great rest of your weekend.